Good evening and welcome to a very special episode of Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu. We are reporting from Tel Aviv in Israel. On the 7th of October 2023, in one of the most horrific terror attacks that the world has seen, 1,200 Israeli nationals and foreign nationals were killed. More than 250 people were taken hostage. And we are here today to reflect on the situation in West Asia. On the one hand, the hostage crisis continues. There have been reports that approximately 50 hostages are still alive, and the government of Israel says that for there to be any peace with Gaza, with the Palestinians, these hostages must return. On the other hand, there are several reports coming in on the situation in Gaza itself, reports of potential starvation, reports on the condition of people, and a deteriorating humanitarian crisis. It's a difficult situation because if you look at the use of the word humanity, it's been used on both sides. On the one hand, it's been used by people in Israel to say, in the name of humanity, let the hostages go, let there be peace. But on the other hand, the word humanity is being used by those in Gaza as well. People saying that in the name of humanity, let there not be starvation. Now, here in Tel Aviv, there are strong denials of any state-sponsored effort at starving people in Gaza. They say that these are carefully calibrated plans of the Hamas itself in that region. But the fact of the situation is that this is now an intractable scenario. On the one hand, there may be some talks which are going on between Hamas, Qatar, Egypt and the United States for there to be some sort of a solution to this crisis. But the progress of that has been very slow. At this juncture, the situation is a crisis as much as it has been since 2023. Unless there is a ceasefire on the ground, the humanitarian situation in Gaza can only deteriorate, and the cry to release hostages, which is a very big one over here in Israel, will only get louder. It's been years now since so many hostages continue to be in Gaza, having been captured by Hamas terrorists in one of the most audacious, atrocious actions that we've seen anywhere. But I think what a lot of people want to know about, A, the condition of the hostages, when they'll be relieved, the families will be relieved of their anxiety, when these hostages will be released. Ambassador Daniel Sheikh is somebody who works very closely with the families, the entire effort to try and release the hostages. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to us. I'm actually at the building where you work, and the reason we're going up these stairs is because I find all around there are photographs of those who continue to be in captivity by Hamas. You deal with the families, you work very closely with them. I can't even begin to understand the horror which many families continue to face. These are deep psychological scars, financial scars, other issues. How do you work with these families? It must be very difficult for you.
You know, we're a civil society organization. The people you met in this building are all volunteers. And we didn't expect this to take so long. But we will stay here until the very last of these faces is checked off as having come home. Obviously, families of the hostages who haven't yet come home, who have yesterday marked the 666th day of captivity. They are totally exhausted emotionally, exhausted physically, exhausted medically, exhausted morally, because they keep living through ups and downs, information about optimism in the negotiations about the possible release, and then the next day things collapse and negotiations are broken down, etc. So it's a terrible emotional roller coaster for them.
And I noticed more photographs over here. And what you were telling us is that shortly after this horrific terrorist incident took place, there was anger, resentment, and a sense of shock among so many families. But sadly, so many have perished. Many have fortunately survived and come back. But tell us about the early days when your foundation was created?
Well, there were 251 faces on the first posters.
Right. 6-month-old babies to 85-year-old men
the
and women.
famous Bibas babies, the redheads, who we hoped until quite recently that they were still alive.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately turned out that both the children and their mother perished. So, there were 251 families. That's thousands of people who congregated around this place in search of attention, somebody to take care of them.
Yeah.
The government was completely overwhelmed, completely in many ways dysfunctional, and had other priorities. And very quickly they understood that this place is the place where they could turn to for support and help. And we tried to improvise and to help, to never say no immediately. Even if we can't resolve every problem, we tried. So by now, we've become a more organized place, and there's a methodology and a work culture, etc. But at the beginning, it was just based on goodwill and perseverance of the many hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers.
Ambassador, what you do is of humanitarian significance. It's a humanitarian mission. But there is, on the other hand, a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And innocent families over there who have nothing to do with Hamas, who have no interest or desire to be a part of any terrorist movement, and they're suffering. Apparently children aren't getting enough food. So in as much as you talk about the humanitarian importance of helping these families, bringing these people back, how do you deal with the fact that there is another humanitarian crisis happening? Go ahead, sir.
We're next to a hospital. So, the simple answer is to say we are a single issue organization and we deal with the Israeli hostages. But as a human being, I care. Of course I care. It's terrible to see the human suffering on the other side too. But in the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question of responsibilities. And paradoxically, although we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza who are suffering, and many who are suffering in Israel, maybe it all hinges on the 50 remaining hostages. Why? Because the way to end the war is the return of all the 50 hostages. And the way to return the 50 hostages is to end the war. So although it might seem like a small number of people, that's the key to ending the war, starting to rebuild Palestinian society in Gaza, and maybe, hopefully, be ambitious and go beyond just pacifying the border between Gaza and the Israeli settlements next to the border, but to thinking broader, to starting to deal with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in general, and placing it in a regional context that might revolutionize the whole area.
A final question to you. There are many in the Israeli government, not least of all Prime Minister Netanyahu, who believes that Hamas has to be eliminated by force. And it's clear that the Israeli armed forces have been trying to do just that. Do you believe that the ideology of terrorism can be defeated by military actions alone? No. I ask this because we face this issue in India on a constant basis.
Look, it's not the responsibility of a civil society organization to fight terrorism.
I ask you as a seasoned veteran diplomat.
I believe in military force when it is needed. I don't believe that military force can do everything. And wars are not won on the battlefield. Only battles are won on the battlefield. Wars, in the end of the day, end through a political process. So I'm not saying that every terror situation is different. Here we're talking about a terrorist organization that is virtually an army and is fighting a virtual war. It's not operating through terror attacks, pinpointed terror attacks. They staged an all-out attack on the state of Israel. So it's it's kind of an army that is using terror methodology, and that's a little bit of a stranger possibility. But I strongly believe that at this point, military action has done what it can. Hamas is diminished seriously, if not decimated, and it's time to end this conflict through an agreement.
All right, Ambassador Sheikh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, there you have it, Ambassador Daniel Sheikh, telling us a little bit about the struggle it has been for the families to try and bring back their loved ones, the importance of advocacy, his mission over here, but also of the significance of bringing an end to this war.
5 female, including, you may remember, the 2 ladies, American ladies that Biden released first after 2 weeks, and 3 from the kibbutz, 2 girls, you can see here Daphna and Ella El-Kaya. And this is an interesting story. Elma Avraham, she was 85. When she came back, she had 27 degrees body temperature. This lady. No, Elma.
Over here?
Yeah, you can see it's also in
Elma
English.
Avraham, yeah.
I know her since she was 30.
And what happened to her, you were saying, when she came back?
Well, this is the only miracle we know, because the lady that came back with a temperature that the doctor said she's clinically not with us, she's today playing with her new grandchild. Wow. So that's a big victory. She's alive, she's okay. The current members of the kibbutz are not there. It is still a restricted military zone. The current members are spread in 3 locations in the country. The founders, including this lady, and others are in elderly people's home not far away from here. There is a hosting kibbutz in the north that hosts a big chunk of families. And there is a town in the south that there are 30, 40 families because they wanted to be close to Nahal Oz and send the kids to the regional school. Kibbutzim, a bunch of 10 kibbutzim have a regional county, and there is a regional school and regional services. So it's a little bit further from the border. And we were left with the 2 gentlemen hostages. Now we know that Tzachi was murdered in the tunnels in December 23. And that is after, and this was live on Facebook. They came into their home and they showed it live. They murdered his daughter in his hands, and then they dragged him and his neighbor Omri into Gaza. And miraculously, at least they kept the children and female, the rest, at their home and didn't touch them. And since then we still have 1 hostage there, Omri Miran, whom we're waiting now almost 2 years for him. He has 2 little daughters. His younger daughter doesn't even know him. She was half a year. On Friday we celebrated the 4th anniversary of his elder daughter, Roni. His wife is going all over the world to talk to everyone. It's unimaginable. There's a sticker that's his shirt. This is Omri. And we're all waiting.
Can I see it once again?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, yeah.
And we're all saying, when, the girls are asking, why is Daddy not coming back? And we're all waiting for them to come back.
On the 7th of October 2023, the world watched in horror as Hamas launched a brutal attack on Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking 251 hostage. Nearly 2 years later, the scars remain and the question lingers, can war still deliver peace? For Israel, the return to these hostages is a matter of humanity. For Gazans, humanity means something else, the right to food, to life, amidst a worsening crisis. In Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, the heart of Israel's grief beats loud. On the 2nd of August, tens of thousands gathered here, their cries echoing for the 49 hostages still held in Gaza, 22 believed to be alive.
They came into their home and they showed it live. They murdered his daughter in his hands, and then they dragged him and his neighbor Omri into Gaza. And miraculously, at least they kept the children and female, the rest, at the home and didn't touch them. And since then we still have one hostage there, Omri Miran, whom we're waiting now almost 2 years for him. He has 2 little daughters. His younger daughter doesn't even know him. She was half a year. On Friday, we celebrated the 4th anniversary of his elder daughter, Roni. His wife is going all over the world to talk to everyone. It's unimaginable. And there's a sticker of, that's his shirt. This is Omri. And we're all waiting for, yes.
Go ahead, yeah.
And we're all saying, when, you know, the girls are asking, why is Daddy not coming back? And we're all waiting for them to come back.
The release of 2 propaganda videos by Hamas showing emaciated captives Rom Braslavsky and Evtar David has reignited outrage. These images have shocked Israel, fueling demands for an immediate ceasefire to save the hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, under pressure, insists efforts to free them are relentless. But Hamas has blocked Red Cross access, leaving families in despair. The horror that the hostages continue to face in Gaza is best replicated by a tunnel which has been created in what is called Hostage Square in the heart of Tel Aviv. Let's take a look inside to give you an idea of this replica of the claustrophobic conditions that people, survivors in Gaza, those who were kidnapped, continue to face. And all throughout, you can see the faces of those who continue to be missing. The belief is that there are 50 people who were kidnapped still alive. Most of them are expected to be alive. The exact numbers are still unclear. You can see the flag of Israel and the yellow over here, and you see this all over the square. The yellow is a symbol which marks the sense that the hostages should never be forgotten and that they must return. So you see the Israeli flag with this ribbon of yellow throughout the square and indeed other parts of Tel Aviv as well. The sound that you hear of footsteps, gunfire and blasts above, and this narrow claustrophobic space captures just what the horror is of what the hostages would likely be going through. For Israel, the return of these captives is a humanitarian imperative, a fight to restore lives stolen on that fateful October day. But across the border, another crisis unfolds. One Gazan say strips them of their own humanity. In Gaza, a humanitarian catastrophe deepens. Since Israel's military campaign began, some reports suggest over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed, a figure the Israelis dispute. 175 have died from starvation since October 2023. Another number Israel says is not accurate. The UN, though, warns of an unfolding famine, with 25% of children and pregnant women malnourished.
المقاطير تحت الموت ابني راح يجيب قصة هاي رجال مصاب راح يجيب قصة هاي الرجال مصاب قلبي رحقه الله اللي ردوا لي ولكن انا قلت لابني ما تروحش انا اللي بدي اروح للموت انا بخليش اولادي يروحوا عشان يموتوا.
Gazans accuse Israel of denying them basic rights, access to food, medicine and safety. Israel in turn blames Hamas for diverting aid and blocking its own people. The blockade tightened since March 2025 has left Gaza's 2 million residents on the brink. Both sides wield the language of humanity, yet both point to the other as a cause of suffering. As the death toll rises and hunger spreads, the question looms: is war still the answer, or has it become the problem? Ceasefire negotiations mediated by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States have repeatedly faltered. A January 2025 truce saw 25 hostages released, but talks collapsed in March when Israel resumed strikes. Hamas demands a full Israeli withdrawal and a permanent end to the war. Israel insists on dismantling Hamas and freeing all hostages. But Hamas's recent refusal to allow Red Cross access and Israel's ongoing strikes have deadlocked talks. On the 3rd of August, Netanyahu called on the world to condemn Hamas's criminal abuse of hostages, while Gazans plead for an end to the blockade. Both sides claim to fight for humanity, yet peace remains elusive. It's been more than 666 days since the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed and approximately 250 were taken hostage. The situation on the ground is completely intractable now. Gaza itself is inhospitable, while cries of the release for the hostages that Hamas has taken only grow louder over here in Israel. At the end of the day, the question remains, is war and is fighting necessarily the solution to what is the situation now on the ground? What is the future of Gaza? When will there be a lasting peace? And when will Israel get back the 50-odd people believed to be alive, most of them at least, and of whom there is evidence which has emerged, these people, hostages, still under Hamas custody in Gaza. In Jerusalem, with camera person Xavier Thomas, Vishnu for NDTV.